Hi, I'm Caleb Giddings for GAT Daily. Today we're looking at an interesting revolver that isn't quite to the status of collector's item yet, but certainly is getting there. And that is the 3-inch CIA marked Ruger GP100. Now, I hate to rain on your parade, but if you've never seen one of these guns before and somebody shows you their 3-inch GP100 that's stamped CIA and tries to tell you a story about how this gun was issued to someone in the CIA, that's not true. And I'm not saying that person's a liar, but I'm saying they definitely don't know where this gun came from. And the answer to that question is the CIA stamping on this gun indicates that it was re-imported into the United States by Century International Arms, that we all know as Century now. From time to time on surplus websites, on Gun Broker and places like that, you'll see guns like this pop up, and they're always almost exactly like this. 3-inch fixed sight GP100s. Some of them will have a bobbed hammer. Most of them will still have the spur on the hammer. They're almost always in great mechanical condition. This one is in phenomenal condition. It could use a little cleaning around where the original grips that I took off it were, and there's some other interesting issues that we'll get into with this specific gun in a minute. But for the most part, this is how these guns will turn up. You'll see 3-inch fixed sight guns, either with or without a hammer spur. The story behind these guns is very interesting. In the late 80s and early 90s, Ruger made a ton of 3-inch fixed-sight GP100s for foreign police contracts. The biggest consumers were France and Canada. The Canadian guns went to the RCMP and the Montreal Police Department. Those are the two places that I've been able to track down for sure. If your gun has a stamp, a number stamped up here on the top strap like that, it's probably an RCMP gun. If it's DAO, it's probably a Montreal PD gun. That's kind of how you can tell those two guns apart. The other big consumer were various French police agencies who used them and issued them alongside the Manurin revolvers that they were issuing at the time. At the time, Manurin was manufacturing essentially a gun that was a Security 6 knockoff, which they had acquired the license from Ruger for. It wasn't like it was illegal or anything. And they were using that in the French police forces as their standard issue revolver. They also issued these, the 3-inch GP100, as a substitute standard. This gun does not have the top strap indicating that it's an RCMP gun, and it still has its hammer spur, so it's not a Montreal PD gun. Again, that means the most likely place that this gun went to when it left America was France, and then it came back to the United States through Century. There were a few other European Leo contracts that had the 3-inch GP100s. There was one in Serbia. There were a couple others, and it wasn't uncommon for a time to find these guns sort of scattered all over Europe. That's obviously less common now. If you see one of these 3-inch GP100s that's marked CIA, I strongly recommend buying it. Now, before the pandemic, these guns were $300, $350. I remember a run of DAO guns at a surplus website that were literally $350, and I kick myself to this day for not buying like 3 of them because I doubt I'll ever see those prices again. Now, I did mention that I replaced the grips on this. These are the Ruger compact grips. The gun came with some pretty nasty, hard Uncle Mike's grips that have finger grooves on them, and finger grooves are the devil, so I try to get rid of them at every opportunity. And plus, if I were to use this as a carry gun, these compact grips make this gun conceal a lot better than the larger, full-sized Uncle Mike grips that were on it. Couple of things to bear in mind. So if you're buying one of these guns, if you're buying it on Gun Broker, good luck, takes your chances that you'll get a good one. You probably will get a good one. Most of these guns are in really spectacular shape. Again, this gun cosmetically is, honestly, it's in really good shape cosmetically, and a cursory mechanical inspection shows me that it's in pretty good shape mechanically. If you notice, there's not end shake, the cylinder doesn't wobble when it's in battery in double action, and it's nice and tight lockup in single action as well. Like most factory Rugers, the DA trigger is hot garbage. The SA trigger is nice, not that I'll ever shoot this gun in single action, and the other mechanical bits in it are solid as well. Couple of interesting things I've noticed, and again, if you get the chance to inspect one of these in person, look in these following places. So again, you want to look for end shake. This shouldn't wobble any more than, a couple of millimeters, say when it's in single action. When you press the trigger in single action, you should be able to release the hammer part way and then release your finger off the trigger, and the trigger will come forward like that. The next thing that you want to look for, and this one has it, is you're going to see shiny spots right there on the hammer. You can see those pretty well. That means that when the hammer comes forward into the gun, when you fire it, and when it comes back out of the gun, when you're pulling the trigger, it's rubbing right there, right where those shiny spots are. And you'll see there are no shiny spots on the other side. So it's very clearly rubbing right here on the left side of the hammer. Now that's an easy fix. Well, not an easy fix. It is fixable. What I would do with this gun, and what I'm going to do with this gun, is I'm going to give it an action job. I'm going to bob the hammer. I'm going to lighten up the trigger spring and the trigger return spring, and I've got some shims. The modern GP100 match champion guns all come with shimmed hammers, and you can buy those shims from Ruger's website, and it's a little circle that goes right here over the hammer pin in between the hammer and the frame. And if I shim it just on one side of this hammer here on the left side, what that should do is it should stop it from dragging on the frame every time it moves, and that should help clean up the overall quality of the double action trigger pull, the all-important double action trigger pull. The last thing that's interesting about this gun is the sights. Yes, they're normal, boring, fixed gutter sights. The fixed gutter sight on the GP100 was never a bad sight. It's a decent little fixed sight. You do have to find a load that your gun is regulated for. Interestingly, this gun shot straight to the sights with 110 grain plus P rounds. So I wonder if it wasn't regulated for the treasury load, and which, if it was, also helps confirm my suspicion that this gun was in fact a French gun, because their duty ammo was 110 grain plus P. It was a recreation of the treasury load. Anyway, that's it for this video. I just wanted to show you guys a cool gun, give you a little bit of the history, and talk about what happens if you find a CIA Ruger GP100. I'm Caleb Giddings. Thanks for watching.